In this video, I'd like to talk about what happened at the crazy Miss Universe 2015 pageant starring Steve Harvey. Now, if you're not familiar with this event, what happened was Miss Philippines won the contest, but Steve Harvey mistakenly announced Miss Colombia as the winner because he was confused by the card that had the actual winners on it. Now, he did realize this a few seconds after the announcement was given and the crown was put on her head. And when he realized this, they had to make a very embarrassing announcement, and then they had to crown Miss Philippines instead. And this created a bit of an international incident and was on the news a lot in 2015. Now, a lot of people blamed Steve Harvey for this mistake, but fortunately, he took a picture of his actual announcement card, and we're going to take a look at this now and see if we can see why this mistake was made. But first, I've edited together a brief version of the actual announcement, so take a look at that first, and then we'll look at the card.
One of you is about to become our new Miss Universe. Miss Universe 2015 is Colombia. Okay, folks, I have to apologize. The first runner-up is Colombia. Miss Universe 2015 is Philippines.
Okay, so that was a fairly embarrassing situation. Now, let's see if we can find out what went wrong. Let's take a look at Steve Harvey's card. Okay, like I said, fortunately, Steve Harvey actually took a picture of his announcement card, and I was able to recreate it here in Photoshop. So this is what Steve Harvey saw when he was to announce the winner of the Miss Universe 2015 pageant. So let's go from top to bottom. On top it says Miss Universe 2015 elimination card. Okay, so first of all, there's a misspelling here right in the first word. Probably not a big factor, but that's our first thing to note. Show finals 3-1. I don't really know what that means. I guess that means the last 3 contestants in the final round. So here is where things get confusing. The second runner-up is Miss USA. Miss USA got 3rd place. The first runner-up is Miss Colombia, and the winner is Miss Philippines. So the actual numbering goes like this: 3, 2, 1. Now, this highlights a very odd convention in the way we rank contestants. I remember as a little kid just being in Boy Scouts and receiving various trophies and being very confused by this naming convention. The person who gets 2nd place in a contest is actually called the first runner-up, and the person who gets 3rd place in a contest is called the second runner-up. This is very confusing, and this little facet creates actually a very confusing little extra amount of work that your brain has to do, because your brain has to think for a second and understand that first runner-up actually means second place, and second runner-up actually means third place. Again, I hope in the future this naming convention will come out of fashion, because it's useless, it's meaningless, I don't know why it's there, and it causes really undue confusion. And this is probably the crux of the mistake that led to most of what happened that night in the Miss Universe contest. Steve Harvey saw the first here, and he made a mistake that a lot of people would make, that I've made myself. He assumed that this person was the winner. He assumed that Colombia won the contest. Because after all, it says number 1, and number 1 is the winner of a contest. Again, I've made this mistake myself, so first of all, I can see how easy that would be to make. But okay, aside from that, let's look at the design of this card. So they've listed the winners as second runner-up, first runner-up, and on the bottom right here, they've put Miss Universe. Now, something very interesting happens when we think about the medium by which the user, Steve Harvey, will be reading this message. And I want you to note the position of where the designer of this card put this most pivotal data, the winner of the contest. Notice how this information is in the bottom right of the card. And now what I'm going to do now is with Photoshop, I'm going to try to recreate the view that Steve Harvey actually saw during the contest. And here we go. This might be what Steve Harvey was actually looking at when he was attempting to discern the person who won the Miss Universe 2015 contest. So let's name some obvious things first. This is a very loud, crowded, decorated hall. We have lights and spotlights and decorative lights all over the place blinking in his eyes. We have a noisy crowd here anticipating the winner of the contest, and we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who are waiting on him to read this data, the data in the card. Announcing the winner of anything can be a very tense moment, both for the card, the announcer, and for the audience themselves. So I mentioned this just to emphasize the fact that this is a tense situation, and when the brain gets nervous or when the brain is put in such situations, then it tends to make mistakes. So the designers of this card should have realized that and should have tried to make this card as simple as possible. And of course, as is probably already apparent to you right now, we notice that if Steve Harvey was grabbing this card with his right hand, then at some point he probably was obstructing the actual winner of this contest, which was Miss Philippines here, covered under his thumb. Again, I'm not sure exactly how he was holding it. He might have had the mic in his left hand. He might have switched back and forth with the microphone. There appeared to be quite a delay when he was opening the card, so he might have had to switch back and forth between hands. But ultimately, it's quite easy to imagine somebody making this mistake, somebody momentarily obstructing the footer of this card, which is another thing to bring up. This data is on the lower half of the card. Now, what do we know about the lower half of any document? The footer. The footer is where you put information that is not important. The center is where you put information that is important. The designer of this card put the information in the footer of the card. The most important information, who won the contest, is here way down at the bottom. So what other mistakes do we have here? As we mentioned before, the card has a misspelling. That's mostly just very annoying. Now, another thing to bring up is that the card was not referring to the contestants as Steve Harvey was referring to the contestants. The card just lists the countries, USA, Colombia, and Philippines. The card does not include the Miss, because as you know, all these contestants are referred to as Miss, Miss USA, Miss Colombia, Miss Philippines. And this brings up another point. It's important to refer to items in your interface the same way that your target user is referring to items in the interface. So if the user, in this case Steve Harvey, the user calls her Miss USA, the user calls her Miss Colombia, the user does not just refer to her as the country name, USA or Colombia. So it's important to refer to objects or people, in this case, as they are commonly referred to by the person reading this data. And again, as we talked about before, there's a weird naming convention that we use for contests. Second runner-up means third, first runner-up actually means second, and the winner is number one. But it's obviously very easy for Steve Harvey or anyone to make a mistake, and upon opening this card, just zoom right down here and look at that number one and assume Colombia was the winner. Okay, so how would I fix this card? Now again, don't be too hard on anyone in this contest. Don't be hard on Steve Harvey, and don't be hard on the people making these cards. It's very hard to look at the perspective of the person on stage reading this card when you're just some guy backstage working with Photoshop or Illustrator and you're just putting text together. So don't be too hard on all the parties involved here, because interface design, data visualization, these are tough things. But that said, let's take a look at some changes that I would have advised. Okay, first off, the easiest way to solve this problem is just to eliminate that stupid card altogether and just hand him two envelopes. If you have two girls up here and you have two envelopes in your hand and one says first place and one says second place, then it's pretty easy for the guy on stage to know which he should do first. Now, this is one of the reasons why wizards are used in software, particularly during software installation procedures. Recall when I say wizard, I mean that little gray box that asks you questions one step at a time. First, you answer the questions from step one, then you do step two, then you do step three. The brain is a lot better at processing information in bits like this, one chunk at a time. So if they just would have handed him two different colored envelopes that were very clearly marked like this, then this whole incident could have been avoided. But if you have to design a card that has all the winners on it, then this is what I would have done. Okay, so here is my redesigned card. So in glancing at this card, if I ask you this simple question, who won? Then I think it's pretty obvious that Miss Philippines won the contest. And I hope that's obvious because I'm using a lot of iconic graphics here. First of all, you'll note that I've used 3 columns. Now, it's very traditional in contests of all types to put the third place person on the lowest column, then the second place person, and then the winner goes on the tallest column. The winner stands tall. This is conventional in contests all over the world. This is conventional in the Olympics at the end of every event. The bronze guy is in the small column, the silver medal is on the middle column, and the gold medal is on the top column. Now, just to emphasize that point, I actually added a little gold star here on top. And of course, you'll notice that I brought all of our content well above the footer so we can avoid our user's thumb here on the bottom right. Now, because the culture insists on this strange naming convention where we use first runner-up means second and second runner-up means third, because people still insist on that, what I've done is I've written the actual typical expression out in gray here, and I've written it in gray here as well, and I've written the word winner here as well. So near the top, we have the actual ranking of the contestant, and in gray, we have the way that these rankings are referred to, just in case our user, in this case Steve Harvey, just in case he gets confused. So again, in looking at this card, I think it's very easy to answer questions like if someone said, who was the second runner-up? Well, then you can just look at that place. Or if someone said, who got second place? Well, I hope that it's obvious that Miss Colombia got second place. And if you say, who's the winner? I hope that's pretty obvious as well. Miss Philippines is the winner. Now, one final thing you want to note is the order that these columns are displayed in. They're coming from left to right. Now, what do we know about people? This is very standard. Humans see the past as residing on the left and the future as residing on the right. This is very typical, especially in old DVD or VCR buttons. When you press the play button, you're going this way and you watch your movie. To fast forward, you typically press another button, and to rewind, you press a button that points that way. Again, the past is on the left and the future is on the right. We can also think of left and right as showing us incremental progress, as in a little bit here, a little more here, a little more, or a lot more here. This is the end. Go up, up, up. A lot of people make the mistake of starting with the bigger column on the left and then going down like this. But you typically don't want to do that. Again, the past is on the left, the future is on the right. And when Steve Harvey, when in any contest, when they announce the winners, they always start with the third place winner, then they name the second place winner, and finally at the end of the contest they name the actual winner. Again, the past is on the left and the future is on the right. So we'll conclude our little video now, and this was a very interesting example of how user design, or just design in general, or how cognitive science or human psychology, all this stuff really does come together in many aspects of your life. And it certainly came together in a bad way at the Miss Universe 2015 pageant here. But in the least, I hope it made for an interesting video. So let's zoom out now and look at the before and after image.